Ay, magandang umaga or hapon sa lahat kung anong oras naman pinapanood yung video na to. So here's your path and it's gonna be another video lecture for each and every one of us. So this video lecture will be discussing about urban legends and an introductory discussion about what is Philippine diaspora. This is the last coverage of your examination, so might as well make sure to look at it and make sure to listen attentively in the video discussion. Don't be tempted to skip some parts because maybe you will be missing some important information. So let's begin. Okay. So Turban Legend is actually written by Zamora Linmark. All right. And when we say Turban Legend, this is an excerpt from the story Lishay, written by R. Zamora Linmark. So this is the book, all right? And one part of it is actually urban legend. And urban legend is maybe a sound familiar or it sounds familiar to everybody because in the Philippines we have this what we call urban legend. So how do they differ or what are the contrasts of these particular two concepts, right? But before we proceed, let's know first who's Zamora Limar. Zamora Linmark is a Filipino who was born in Manila, but he's a Filipino-American poet. He's also a novelist and playwright. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Hawaii in Honolulu. All right. So he is also a senior lecturer in Fulbright Foundation, and he's a visiting professor in writing at the University of Hawaii and University of Miami. This is Linmark, ladies and gentlemen. But why urban legend, right? When we say urban legend, it is a modern genre of folklore, okay? And that is the same way with urban legends, right? Usually, it consists of fictional stories, superstitions, and other fear-generating narrative elements. Urban legends are often rooted in local history and popular culture. So take close note on this one. When we say urban legend, I know it's superstition. So it's fictional and there's no any um proof that the story didn't happen. One example of which is the hitchhiker. Another one, this particular creepy photo is part of urban legend. The spider bite, that when we say when somebody or when a spider bites you, right? You're gonna have a superpowers. That's actually a folklore, ano? But we're going to go back in this photo, right? When you say hitchhiker, hindi ka pwedeng magpasakay ng random people in a random road primarily because baka ghost siya or baka ikaw lang yung nakakakita sa kanya. And baka ganito yung mga kasalubong mo when you are driving. So stories like this or like these are actually present in urban legends. Since basically, if we're going to go back to its definition, it's a folklore or a superstition so rooted to a once culture, specifically in the Philippines, where our superstitions, our beliefs is actually based from a tradition where we believe in aswang, we believe in multo. Remember when I said in an example that even a butterfly can be your grandfather, right? That when you see a brown butterfly, oh, it's your lolo. When you see a white butterfly, oh, it's your aunt, right? So it's an example of a folklore. Example of this, another creepy, the Bigfoot. If you're familiar with the Bigfoot, this is a folklore story in the United States. I know that when you are in a when you are in a forest, you will see Bigfoot. And even in America, they consider and recognize this belief. They even put signs, of Bigfoot in an area. So which means they celebrate the culture even if they do not have any evidence at all. Yung itsura daw ni Bigfoot. Yan. White Lady sa Balete Drive is a very famous superstitious story in the Philippines and in our own urban legends. We're gonna take a look at it. Every All Souls Day, every All Saints Day, every November 1, You will hear horror stories coming from Filipino experiences, right? And one of the famous is Balete Drive. That when you drive in that particular road, you will see a white lady, I know, who's actually crying for justice because this lady was probably abused, or if this lady was probably committed or had an accident, who's seeking for help and justice. Ano? So yeah, yung example niyan, kung makikita nyo. Okay, that's why Balete Drive had an implication or had an impression that it's a very creepy road that no one wants to pass that road, right? Imagine you're driving your car and you will see this kind of picture. It's gonna be a very creepy experience for everyone. However, um we're going to ask ourselves, do we really believe in these things, or actually assess our knowledge and understanding about our rooted culture? Okay. But why Turban legend, right? Because when we say Turban, you put down my picture. Okay. Because when we say Turban, ladies and gentlemen, it's a type of headwear based on cloth winding, featuring many variations. It is worn and as customary headwear by people of various cultures. Communities with prominent turban wearing traditions can be found in the Indian, subcontinent, Southeast Asia, the Arabian Peninsula, the Middle East, Central Asia, North Africa, and the Horn of Africa. This is an example, ladies and gentlemen, of a turban. All right. So you'll see there, our friends and families from Middle East are actually wearing this particular turban because it has a symbol for them. It is part of their culture, therefore it's part of their identity. I know. These are local stories. Remember that when we say turban legends, these are local stories from Middle Eastern countries, especially to OFW. All right? Understand? Now, why am I discussing this particular discussion, right? Because when we're going to discuss Philippine diaspora and its first module that talks about identity, we have to understand first how do we build identity in terms of going to other places, right? Do we share other cultures with them? And how do we manage to share with it or share with them? And how do we survive it, right? Because aside from the story that Filipinos are successful in other countries, we don't know what are the challenges that they actually face when they're actually away from home, right? Poverty is the strongest reason why majority of Filipinos work abroad. Ever since that the martial law began and the Philippines experienced recession, a lot of Filipinos decided to go abroad and work. Probably because the money and the salary is actually higher than the Philippines, right? And when we say diaspora, this is the movement or migration of a group of people, such as those sharing a national and or ethnic identity away from an established or ancestral homeland. When we say a diaspora, this is where Filipinos move away from the Philippines and go to other place which is not their homeland. However, there are group of people who they share the same belief. For example, in the United States, there are a lot of Filipino communities already. Okay, so that Filipino diaspora is already existing primarily because as Filipinos go there, okay, lumalaki yung community ng Filipinos. And as Filipino community enlarge, the influence of our culture, the identity of Filipinos were being introduced to other countries because there are flocks of Filipinos already who are doing the same thing. Right? So we're basically sharing our ethnic identity and our national identity to Americans primarily because we are exposing them to our culture, and that's vice versa because Americans also share their cultures to us, right? So it is an act which Filipinos go abroad to seek jobs, right? So we have to understand that we have to ask ourselves, what is it to become of the country when all the brightest individuals leave? The main answer is our country will experience brain drain. Okay? The Philippine diaspora will allow or will result to the lack of skillful and intelligent workers. Hence, it will lead us to brain drain where there are no any um intelligent and skillful workers will be left in the Philippines, which means that our agencies, our workforce will weaken, and at the same time, the workforce will not deliver a quality service to Filipinos who are living here. Okay? So, in the story, I'm waiting. You will see there a lot of symbolism. And the first symbolism is the balikbayan box. Okay, it symbolizes the pampalubag loob. When we say pampalubag loob, you will see a lot of Filipinos who went back from United States or even other countries who brings balikbayan bags, right? Or Louis Vuitton bags. Okay, it's basically an idea where Filipinos are actually um established new culture such as balikbayan culture wherein pag galing ka sa abroad dapat meron kang balikbayan box. So as you read, ladies and gentlemen, the story rating, you will further understand what are the identity that we are building when Filipinos go abroad. And you will see the story of Isabel. Um, who decided to work in Canada, that she's a public school teacher, but she decided to work in Canada. And I want you to read that story. In the next meeting, I will be discussing the story waiting. If you have any clarifications or violent reactions about this video, please feel free to send me a message through Messenger. And if you don't have, please feel free to enrich your learnings about Turban legends and how it builds our identity and in our culture. That's it for my video lecture. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.